request everybody to kindly cooperate. Let us sit back again at all the respective places. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, now the time calls to give somebody very special, a very, very special tribute. It's time to talk about a very pleasing and a very, very talented personality. It's time that we all should give a tribute to the legendary Dr. Anand G. Naik Kurade. Ladies and gentlemen, to speak some amazing and beautiful lines about Dr. Anand G. Naik Kurade, I hereby invite none other than, ma'am, I'm talking about you. Well, a huge round of applause for Dr. Ladies and gentlemen, I request everybody to clap aloud for each and every one of the dignitaries who are coming right here with us. None other than Dr. Iram Rao is here to give a beautiful tribute to speak about none other than the legendary personality, Dr. Anand G. Naik Kurade. Ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. I have the privilege of reading out the citation for Dr. Naik. I'd like to begin with a quote by Claude Thomas Bissell. He said, "Excellence can be obtained if you care more than others think is wise, risk more than others think is safe, dream more than others think is practical, expect more than others think is possible." Ladies and gentlemen, this is the apt description of Dr. Anand G. Naik Kurade, who is said to be the pioneer in the world of food processing in India. He started at a time when not many people knew about the field of food science and technology. Forget about the opportunities and challenges associated with it. He was instrumental in introducing modern food manufacturing practices in the industry, which was then largely unorganized and sadly at a very nascent stage. Dr. Kurade graduated from the prestigious University of Massachusetts in food technology in United States and later pursued his MS and PhD as well from the same university. He came back to India in the year 1959 and started his career from Dr. Reiter's chocolate canning company in Mumbai. He soon caught the attention of Birlas when they were looking for setting up a canning company in Allahabad. Then, in the year 1968, he moved to Delhi to work for Indo-Bulgar Foods as its CEO, and later as a consultant for the vegetable dehydration plant, which led to the foundation of Suman Food Consultants in the year 1970, which is now popularly known as Suman Project Consultants Private Limited. This is one of the oldest and leading consulting companies in India in the area of food processing. Dr. Anand Naik Kurade was known for his professional excellence and industrious attributes, and thus was at the forefront of spearheading several initiatives in India. He was selected as the president of All India Food Processors Association from 1986 to 1987. He was the president of SIFTI, FICCI, from the year 1996 to 1998, president of Association of Food Scientists and Technologists of India, vice chairman, Processed Food Export Promotion Council Director, Nirmak, and as a chief editor of the first Indian Food Packer, which is a food journal from the year 1984 to 88. His contribution to the food processing industry was unparalleled and has been acknowledged not just in India but worldwide. He has the distinction of setting up 350 food processing units projects successfully. Therefore, he was the recipient of many prestigious awards, such as the Kashlarkar Memorial Award, which is a gold medal bestowed on him by All India Food Processors Association in the year 1973. Professor V. Subramaniam Industrial Achievement Award by AFSTi in the year 1989, to name a few. Dr. Anand Kurade left for his heavenly abode on 13th August 2012, leaving an indelible mark in the sands of time for the food processing industry. In order to carry forward his legacy and as a mark of reverence to this great food technologist, the AFSTi Delhi chapter has instituted the Dr. Anand Kurade Memorial Lecture Series. This, ladies and gentlemen, would be a befitting tribute to the distinguished legend. Thank you. So please.
He was a great human, great one.
I'm sure.
Dr. Anita
Dr. Anita Malhotra.
would be coming on stage to introduce. Well, ladies and gentlemen, amidst us, we have a very talented personality. Dr. M. Krishna, former MD, Modern Foods Limited. For him, we should clap aloud, ladies and gentlemen, for his wonderful, wonderful presence. I request Dr. Anita to kindly join me on stage. Dr. Anita.
He was CMD. He was a chairman come managing director.
Surely, surely.
Good afternoon. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce Dr. M. Krishna. Dr. M. Krishna is a graduate in agriculture from Andhra University and a postgraduate in food science and technology from CFTRI, Mysore. He was awarded PhD from Indian Agricultural Research Institute, Delhi in the year 1968. He has also studied Advanced Baking Science and Technology at the American Institute of Baking, Chicago, and Advanced Food Extrusion Technology at the Kansas State University, USA. Dr. Krishna has over 50 years of experience with food and agro-processing industries in India and abroad. In recognition of his outstanding contribution, Dr. Krishna was appointed by Government of India as the chairman and managing director of India's largest food processing, bread manufacturing and marketing company, the Modern Food Industries India Limited. With his experience, he was able to turn this loss-making public sector company into a profitable enterprise and helped it to reclaim its earlier position in the market. His contribution in this endeavor has been highly acclaimed. Dr. Krishna has also worked with multinational companies such as DuPont India Private Limited and US Soybean Export Council, where he has contributed extensively to the nutritional and functional applications of soya protein ingredients in processed foods. He was also instrumental in promoting the use of soy as affordable, high-quality protein in food products in South and Southeast Asia. Earlier, Dr. Krishna was a member of Research Council at CFTRI, Mysore. He has also served on several government and professional committees related to food processing. In the year 2013, the Institute of Food Technologists, USA, recognized Dr. Krishna as a certified food scientist. It is an honor for us that Dr. Krishna is delivering the fourth Dr. Anand G. Kurade Memorial Lecture today. Please welcome Dr. M. Krishna with a round of applause. Sir, please.
I don't know where my, yeah. Before I start speaking on this memory of Dr. A.G. Naik Kurade, I would like to place my respect. Respected Mrs. Kurade, very distinguished academicians, leaders of industry, future captains of the food industry, and ladies and gentlemen. I am indeed greatly honored and privileged to be here today to speak in the memory and honor of one of those who is responsible for my standing here today. Dr. A.G. Naik Kurade, the legendary food scientist and technologist, after having successfully studied and acquired great qualifications in the United States, the University of Massachusetts, has chosen to come relinquishing such a lucrative faculty position at the University of Massachusetts to India because he saw that this food processing will be a sunrise industry in India and he should really participate in building modern food processing enterprises in India. I would rightly refer to him as the architect of modern Indian food processing industry because he laid such strong foundations for the development of the industry in terms of creating marvels or models in food processing in India. To cite a few, I know he has created more than 100 enterprises, but a few of them that really still remain in the memory of most of you is the Allahabad Canning Company, which he set up in 1963 for the Birlas, the largest food canning company at that time, and perhaps one of the very few food processing enterprises that was catering to the needs of our defense forces at the high altitudes. Dr. Kurade, I would call him as the father of Indian food dehydration industry because it is he who set up a model, a ultra-modern, very highly sophisticated food dehydration plant in Ghaziabad. And it was highly acclaimed by the people who visited from abroad, and they remarked that you have not created a food processing enterprise, but you have created a marvel for the future of India's food processing industry. This is the greatness of person of Dr. Kurade's, and as Mr. Kapoor was mentioning, more than his professional associations or business relationships, he was a perfect human being with the highest human values. And to speak in honor of that such a great person, who in fact I owe a lot to him personally, because he transformed me from a hardcore researcher and an academician to a successful industry manager. It is his training and development that really helped me pursue my industry career and grow in the industry, perhaps as a successful industry manager. I don't know, I can't say it loudly in front of Krishna Ji that I was successful, but yes, we did something good to the country in our career in the industry. So I chose to speak today in memory of Dr. Kurade on a subject of contemporary interest, also because our theme of the seminar is the impact of food processing industry on the Indian economy As you all know, Indian economy is mostly agricultural economy. We are an agricultural country with a lot of emphasis on agricultural economy contribution to the development of the country. Also because the linkages between the farmer and the industry was the strongest point of Dr. Kurade. He always believed that the farmer is the backbone for development of any agri or food related industry development in India. And we started working closely with the farmers in whatever products we were processing, sourcing directly from the farms and benefiting the farmer enormously in terms of returns for his work on the farms. So to sum up all this, it was these things that have really motivated me to speak today on sustainable food security and the role of food science and technology. When we talk of food security, many of us tend to speak emphasizing more on agricultural aspects of food security. But we believe, and rightly so, that agriculture alone cannot build a strong, sustainable food security for the country. It is the linkage or the great integration that we have between agriculture and food science and technology or the food processing that really makes it as a whole and which can contribute very significantly to our future food security needs. You all must be wondering why I am showing soybean on the first slide, title slide of this presentation. There is a reason for it, not because I am passionate about soya or I have worked my lifelong work in soybean for food applications, but because I strongly believe, and I'm sure Shiraz and others also agree to it, that this is a crop which will lead India's food security in the future. Friends, let me tell you, soybean, though is a neglected crop, or a crop which is often referred to by people like Dr. Swaminathan as an orphan crop, it is a crop which is of a great potential and promise to meet our future food security requirements. In just 1 minute, I'll tell you how. India produces roughly 12 million metric tons of soybean. Of course, last year it was 10 million because of some weather conditions. And soy crop is a rain-fed crop. It does not need irrigation. It is a rain-fed crop. And it not only provides the beans of excellent protein quality and protein value, but also enriches the soil with nitrogen fixation. So it is the symbiotic relationship of the man and the plant with enriching the farm with nitrogen as a fertilizer as a future fertilizer requirement for the plants, plus providing humans with high quality protein. Soybean has the highest protein density. As a bean, it has 42% protein. No other food known to mankind has so much of protein. Not only that, that protein is of highest biological efficacy. The nutritional value of soy protein is something which is equivalent to proteins like milk protein or egg protein in terms of essential amino acid delivery and the biological value or the PD cost value or whatever we may call it to qualify the protein quality. So these 12 million metric tons of soybean that we produce give us something like 4.8 million to 5 million tons of pure highest quality protein, which is excellent for human protein nutrition. But today what is happening? We have a lot of protein gap in the country, but yet we are diverting such a valuable input for human nutrition to animal feeds. I appeal to the soya companies here, the large Karkil company, internationally the biggest in soya processing, Shiraz is here. Kindly divert as much soybean as possible for human nutrition and not for animal rearing or for meat production. Meat production or other animal food production based on soy is also not environmentally very friendly because it calls upon highest utilization of water and other resources for producing it, ultimately leaving a very large carbon footprint in the country. So we are inviting future problems for humanity by diverting our food resource, which can be directly consumed by the people as a high quality protein, to produce animal protein of very low or less relevance or consequence. So that is the reason, because of its highest potential contribution in the field of food security, I have put that picture. Now I go to the subject. I am told that 30 minutes is my time, so I will try to condense as much as possible. When we talk of food security, the immediate concerns are demographics. What is going to be our demographic situation and our food situation now and in future, and what are the challenges in terms of agriculture and its linkage to food processing. With the dawn of Y2K, that the 2000th year, people have prophesied that some miracles will happen in this century in India. And one such a miracle is likely to happen or is going to happen 7 years from now, when we are going to put China behind us. Not in terms of agricultural productivity or crop production, but in terms of population in the country. We are going to exceed the population of China by around 2025. And by the middle of this century, something even greater is going to happen, because the population of India by then will be about 1.7 billion people, which is equivalent to the population of China and America put together. You can imagine, I'm giving this example because this is a tremendous challenge for us. With such a high population that is going to happen in just 30 years from now, how are we going to feed 400 million extra people with food resources which we are finding difficult to increase year after year? Our growth rate in agriculture is there is no acceleration. Actually, there is a deceleration. So this is coming to the food situation. In 2016-17, this is what we produced. We have 110 million metric tons of rice, 98 million metric tons of wheat, coarse grains and maize and other things about 70, and about 23 million metric tons of pulses and 32 of oilseeds. The forecast for 2050 by various agencies like ICAR and other foreign governmental agencies indicate that demand for wheat alone is estimated to grow by more than 45% by 2050. And India in early 70s was a net importer of wheat. We were waiting. We were in a situation of a hand-to-mouth, ship-to-mouth type of situation until 1970s, till the Green Revolution was ushered in by Dr. Swaminathan and other scientists in the country. We are likely to go back by 2050 to become a net importer of wheat again, maybe from countries like US or some other countries. The situation regarding pulses, the less I say it is better, because till last year we have seen how the pulses situation in this country played havoc. The prices of pulses touched something like 200 rupees per kilogram on an average, and availability has become very scarce. That is because our pulses production was very low. The import was not adequate to meet the requirements, and people say that they were also in the trade, there was some hoarding leading to price rise. I don't want to deal with that. But the situation is pulses and oil seeds, I feel, we will be a perpetual importing country. And that is where we need to do more work to reduce the dependence on import and bridge the gap between our production and consumption. This is the wheat situation in 2050. We are going to be a net importer to the tune of 12 million metric tons. What are the constraints for increasing agricultural production? Farmers, the type of farmers we have, the class of farmers we have, and the farms, the size of the farms. I won't call it a constraint. I would like to look at it as a strength for us for our future food security building. Then we have cultivable agricultural land constraints, and we have low productivity and yield gaps affecting us. We do have a inventory of very high yielding crop varieties of crops that are suitable for adverse weather conditions, growing in adverse weather conditions, or crops that can be grown under indifferent soil conditions like saline soils and alkaline soils. There are several varieties developed by researchers, but they are all the inventory, not yet coming into the field. And we also have access to new technologies which have been adopted world over, like the genetic modification of foods and other technologies which are becoming more popular. But one thing that is likely to affect India very much is already affecting, we are already feeling the pinch. We are feeling the pinch because it is created by us. So we have to bear with it. If we don't want to bear with it, we have to work ways and means on getting over how to get over it or how to reduce that damage. It's a global warming. It is said that the countries lying between 30 degrees south and 30 degrees north of equator are the countries that will be most affected by global warming. And unfortunately, we are very much within that range of latitude. Let us look at the Indian farmer. We have Indian farmers of different types, but large number of farmers in India, more than 80% of farmers are marginal and small farmers. That means those who own land of 1 hectare or less than 1 hectare. But since they are the largest number, and the number of holdings being almost 50% of our production coming from small and marginal farmers, we should look at them as the future contributors for our sustainable food and agricultural growth, food security and livelihoods. It all depends on the performance of the small farmer. The agricultural census data shows that of 121 million agricultural holdings, 99 million, almost 100 million, are small and marginal farmers. That means more than 80% are small farms. But they only contribute about 44%. They control only 44% of land, 88% of farmers. This is the distribution of the farmers and the farm sizes. I will not deal with it. If you look at this, the pie picture, nearly 51% of our production, agricultural production, comes from marginal and small farmers, with 49% contributed by large farmers. This is a picture of a small marginal farmer in a backward district of Andhra Pradesh called Anantapur district. This is not a pick and choose picture. This is an actual picture of the farmer working on his farm, and his farm, he is the laborer in the farm, he is the owner of the farm, and his children and wife also work in the farm. The whole family works in the farm. You can see at the back, his daughter is bringing something for him to eat for lunch in the farm. This farmer is the one who is going to contribute, who has to contribute to our food security. This farmer plus millions of his colleagues. When I first started learning agricultural economics in my undergraduate studies, The first lesson said, the Indian farmer is one who is born in debt, who lives in debt, who dies in debt, and who bequeaths debt. That means he is seeing nothing but debt in his lifetime before he is born and after he is no more. But he is the backbone of our agricultural system here, and he is perhaps one of the important components of building a food security system for the country. So we cannot just brush aside or ignore him. We need to see how we can strengthen him to become more self-reliant and perform more efficiently so that he can contribute meaningfully to the basket of Indian food security. If we speak to American agricultural economists, they say Indian agriculture is very inefficient because the small holdings are very small and the farmers are very small or marginal. They cannot mechanize agriculture, and therefore Indian agriculture is going to be in the condition where it is, or it may even worsen. It's not true. The farmer may be small, he may be doing farming for subsistence level, but he is a very efficient producer. If you see this graph, the net contribution per hectare, output per hectare in terms of monetary value, the marginal farmer produces twice as much as the large farmer out of 1 hectare of land. That means this man, who is perhaps eating only 1 meal a day and who is a half-clad person working in the fields day and night, is contributing double the value in terms of output from the same hectare of land. He is eating perhaps only 1 meal a day to provide us 3 meals a day. That is the sacrifice he is doing. So he is not inefficient. His problem is in lack of resources or the revenue from the area that he is cultivating, because the holding size is small. The holding size in India, historically and legally, looking at it in a perspective of legal and historical perspectives, is likely to remain so or even worsen because of our system of subdivision and fragmentation of land. As the generations pass, the land gets subdivided, because land is the property that is divided by the family from each generation to generation. 5 generations back, if some family was owning 100 acres, today that family, one of the members of that family may be only holding 2 acres of land, because that is the share he gets by sequential subdivision and fragmentation. But this man is an efficient farmer. His land holding is small, but otherwise he can contribute greatly to the food basket. This is actually the break-even analysis of the revenue and expenditure of farmers of different levels of holdings. Up to 4 hectares of holding, the revenue from the farm is significantly lower than the expenses, and therefore force the farmer to go and borrow money to bridge his revenue gap. That mounting debt will ultimately kill him because he cannot get out of that debt trap. But beyond 4 hectares, there is significant surplus in terms of revenue, and therefore the large farmers are very happy driving Mercedes-Benz and other luxurious cars in India. But as scientists, agricultural scientists or food scientists, it is really our challenge and our responsibility to see the person who is giving us the bread. We must help him earn more revenue from the piece of land that he is cultivating. How to improve the revenue for that farmer from whatever is existing today? We cannot create more land for him, but whatever he is holding, is it possible for us to increase the revenue streams? That is where the agricultural scientist contribution or the food science contribution comes into play. One of the important factors that will definitely affect our food production in terms of quantity will be diversion of agricultural land for non-agricultural uses in India. Over a period of 20 years in India, 3.07 million hectares have been taken away from agriculture to build new cities or new factories or other non-agricultural purposes. This is a huge quantum of land going out of cultivation. On an average, 150,000 hectares are going out of the system from agriculture to non-agriculture every year. Imagine after 100 years, how much land we will be left with if this is the level of diversion of agricultural land for urbanization purposes or for industry purposes. It is something which I do not like to imagine because I shiver when I think of it, because sheer production of food will become a challenge because we cannot meet the requirements when the land is shrinking. The recent, very sad, I would say sad example is the diversion of several thousand hectares of land, most fertile land in Andhra Pradesh, for building a new capital city for that state. The next important factor that may impact on food security is the yield productivity gap for various crops in India vis-a-vis other countries. If we look to rice, rice is our staple food in India for centuries. For thousands of years, we have been cultivating rice. But if we look at the productivity, we are the lowest even among Asian neighbors like Bangladesh, Indonesia, and Vietnam, China. China can produce 6.5 million metric tons per hectare, whereas India is only producing 3.5 metric tons per hectare, almost half. This is a matter of concern. This is a matter of great concern for us because our future food security is dependent on this. And bridging the yield gap, though it is a matter of concern today, is a positive thing for us to work and reach that level so that that contribution to food security can be accomplished. In wheat, it is no different. We are the lowest in terms of productivity with about 2.8 metric tons per hectare. In spite of our green revolution, in spite of our very prosperous and very enterprising farmers in the western Uttar Pradesh, Punjab and Haryana, which is the wheat bowl of India. But even then, our average in India is only 2.8. I don't need to speak of pulses because this is a situation which is very, very alarming. Our productivity is 600 kg per hectare, whereas our immediate neighbor, China, is 1.4 tons per hectare. He is doing double our production in terms of pulses. In USA, it is 1800, 1.8 tons per hectare. If we are not able to push pulses production in India by increasing the productivity, maybe by genetic means or by agronomic means or whatever means that are available to agricultural scientists, we will be really, really in a great, great problematic area because pulses are the protein source for the poor. The poor survive, get their protein from pulses. And this is today, I'm sorry to say, has become an orphan crop in India. Only last 2 years back, Government of India has given a big push to produce more pulses. What happened? Government of India imported a lot of pulses from countries like Mozambique, Ethiopia and other countries, Myanmar. And our farmers also have produced a lot. It has created a scene of glut in the country, and the pulses procurement prices have dropped very much. The farmer will be disincentivized to grow more pulses next year because he is not able to get enough revenue for whatever he has produced this year. But pulses need great attention together with soybean in this country. Soybean is another crop. We are hardly able to do 1 metric ton per hectare compared to 3 metric tons per hectare in North and South Americas, which are the largest growers of soybean, United States, Brazil, Argentina. And there is a wonderful opportunity to address this area and enhance the productivity. Maybe we have varieties that can be grown which can produce 3 metric tons per hectare in India. One of the arguments the agricultural scientists give is the Indian soybean cultivation is under short day duration conditions, whereas the US soybean is under large day conditions. I do not know if short day and long day are going to be constraints for our production. We should then have all varieties that can yield so much, as much, under short day duration conditions. So this is just to give an idea of what are the, by analyzing gaps, we are in fact looking at opportunities of bridging our requirement by working more effectively on the gap area, bridging the gap area to boost more production. We can enhance production in the existing given conditions by improving the practices, agronomic practices or cultivation practices adopted by the farmers. This is a job of the agricultural extension officers in this country to interact with the farmers, advise the farmers, and appropriately suggest solutions for their problems so that the farmer would benefit and increase his production. You know, we have a system of using the seed. The farmer will save the seed from the previous crop for using for the next crop. By repeatedly recycling the same seed, the productivity will be affected. So a sound seed replacement policy is essential to create conditions for better productivity on the given piece of land. We have new technologies like the GM technology, which I was referring to. It's a very controversial subject today, but nevertheless, it is science that has proved that many of these problems that we are confronting with our agriculture and food situation world over can be meaningfully brought under control by taking recourse to technologies like the genetic modification of crops. We need genetic modification for traits that we need in India. India is a labor-intensive agriculture, whereas countries like US, Brazil or Argentina are more capital-intensive agriculture because their manpower is very, very short. India has to plan their requirements in terms of altering the attributes of food crops, taking into conditions our own requirements. Our economy, agricultural economy, is more labor intensive. As I showed the picture of this small farmer, he is himself the laborer in his farm. If he has to weed that farm, do weeding in that farm, he and his family will do it in half a day. We do not need weedicide resistant varieties, genetically modified varieties of soybean in India. What we need is genetically modified for higher productivity, high protein content, or high other attributes that make it a better food for the people here. So we need to identify what are the traits that we need to address. I'm sure our agricultural scientists are already doing it. So when such technologies are available to us, adaptability, acceptability by the farmers as well as by the groups of people whom they call it environmentalists who are opposing genetic modification of crops will also come around, because science can convince anybody. It is all science that really can convince and take things forward. So we should not close our doors to new technologies like genetic modification of crops if we want to really bring about good improvement in our sustainable food security in future. Global warming, I was mentioning, recent studies done by the Indian Agricultural Research Institute have shown that our production of wheat can go down by 4 to 5 million tons a year if the temperature, average temperature during the growing time raises by 1 degree centigrade. You see the magnitude of the effect of global warming on crop productivity. Similarly, rice production, also a great impact of global warming. By every 2 degrees rise in temperature, the productivity will go down by 1 metric ton per hectare. So while we are working to positively contribute towards strengthening our food security system, we need to also take into consideration these factors, build in these factors in evolving new varieties of crops that are that is being worked in our research institutes, and produce varieties that can withstand or that can answer these constraints imposed by nature. We had excellent food security in the early 70s with the green revolution ushered in India. We started gradually increasing our production and we became a net exporter of cereal grains. Well, what we missed at that time is we ushered in a green revolution to give a very quick boost to agricultural production, but we did not simultaneously plan how to protect that crop after harvest in proper storage. We didn't have adequate storage facilities. In fact, there was hardly any proper storage conditions that are available in 1970s till the Food Corporation of India came into existence and built some godowns and also stored large part of the grain in what is called temporary storage structures or cap structures, cover and plinth type of structures. There was enormous damage to the grain during storage because of inadequate storage facilities, appropriate storage facilities. Government of India is now giving more emphasis to creating infrastructure for storage. I think they are planning to create silo storage facilities to store about 10 million tons of food grains by not immediately, maybe in the next 20 or 25 years, I do not know, on a public-private partnership basis. So we are likely to see some light at that end of the day, but how soon it is going to come and how much it can really contribute towards conserving our grain from getting damaged is yet to be assessed. Something which can create linkages at the village level by directly linking the farmer to the market, a concept like ITC e-Chopal. I think this is a model that needs to be replicated by the government in various areas so that the farmer is not distressed by taking his product to the mandi and getting not enough revenue or getting no revenue for his produce at the end of the day. So this type of village markets like Chopal markets will go a very long way in empowering the producer and contribute and helping him contribute to our food security system. I will skip this. You know, we produce a lot of food. We are the second largest producers of wheat, second largest producer of horticultural crops, fruits and vegetables. But because of our inadequate expertise or infrastructure in handling, in storage, and in utilizing this agricultural, horticultural produce, we have a very high post-harvest loss. In fact, post-harvest losses used to be 30% for horticultural produce like fruits and vegetables. It has slightly come down, but cereals also used to be quite high, about 10% used to be there, but now it has come to around 6%. So these are the losses that we have after harvesting, and this is where the post-harvest technologies come into play. How to effectively linkage production and processing for a significant reduction of our post-harvest losses and enhancing the value chain for the farmer and the consumer. The periods of glut in agricultural production is prone to periods of glut or shortage. We have either a glut or a shortage. Because the seasons of growing are like that. If one person grows tomatoes in one village, everybody else also will plant only that crop, saying that there is a good fortune in that crop. Whatever be the reason, glut is something which is happening and will happen unless we really do a proper planning for agricultural calendar and stagger the plantation durations or plantation areas so that there is no glut situation. Managing glut is very important. But this is an example of how a farmer in Chittoor district of Andhra Pradesh, tomato farmer, when the prices have fallen so low because of the glut, has just thrown that crop on the road. He had no money to even take it to the market. And this is what he says. This is a real statement recorded by a press reporter by that farmer. When we have a loss or a wastage of food or any agricultural or horticultural produce, there is not, we are not just only wasting that, okay, tomatoes or wheat or rice. Behind every product that is consumed or that wasted, there's enormous utilization of resources that has gone into producing that product. You can see if we want to produce beef, we need 15,000 liters of water for 1 kilogram of beef. If we want to produce eggs, we need 200 liters of water to produce 1 egg. If we want to do tomatoes, it is 214. Rice, 2,500 kgs per 1 kg of rice. The enormous utilization of resources like water, which is now a dwindling resource world over, not only in India, world over, is a matter of great concern. And this is where proper planning of the type of crop, the season of crop, the duration of crop, and the location of growing comes into play to create the sustainability in our agricultural production systems. I have got a small message that I need to wind up in 5 to 10 minutes. I will try to do it. You know, it is not just agricultural scientists or agricultural researchers that need to work on contributing towards building sustainable food security. The food scientists and technologists have a great role in ensuring it. And when we try to ensure that appropriate post-harvest management practices are interlinked with the food production on the farm, we need to look at the small farmer because he is the backbone of Indian agriculture. And we also have to think of suggesting or implementing appropriate technologies, appropriate for that crop, appropriate for that farmer, appropriate for that region. And also we have to keep in mind linking agricultural production with post-harvest management or primary value addition on the farm. There is need to be very vigilant because that should not lead to further creation of addition of carbon footprint. We need to put in technologies that are environmentally friendly and do not create any environmental pollution or increase the carbon footprint in the country. So the technologies that are suggested for a small farmer to meet the period of glut or to hold his produce for a short period of time before he takes it to market are very relevant. The small farmer, we have technologies for the small and marginal farmers like the zero energy cool chamber system developed by the Indian Agricultural Research Institute and other agricultural universities in the country. But this is a wonderful mechanism by which the farmer can create the facility within his own farm and hold the produce for a period of time of 1 to 2 weeks before he can release it to the market without undergoing distress sale in the. This is where the integration of food science, post-harvest management, and agricultural production really come into a meaningful play. Anything that we want to do, we must focus on green energy utilization, not on fossil fuels, which will contribute to more of carbon footprint. This is a zero energy carbon cool chamber structure, which is built with locally available raw materials like bricks, sand, and some water to keep the bricks wet. This is a very simple structure that was designed by my late colleague and friend Dr. S.K. Roy and his colleagues. This is a technology that ICR extension staff should take it to the small farmer and tell him that don't dump your tomatoes on the road, keep your tomatoes in the cool chamber structure for 5 days, 7 days, 10 days, till the price equalizes and equilibrates at the marketplace, and he can then send it to the market. This is the shelf life extension that is possible in that small cool structure that was designed. You can have something like 50% to 200% shelf life extension depending on the type of crop that you are handling. And this is the condition of the stored products after the shelf life, prescribed shelf life in the cool chamber. So they look fresh because the cool chamber maintains the low temperature as well as the humidity required for the shelf life extension of horticultural produce. Then another simple technology that can be adopted by small and marginal farmers to add value to the crop is the dehydration, solar dehydration process. This is a very small, very low capital intensive technology with no energy cost in dehydration and can really help the farmer add value to the produce. Whenever there is a glut, he can dehydrate the product on his own farm or in a community facility created by a group of farmers. And this is a small model of a solar dehydrator. And really, you can convert tomatoes into tomato powder. The value of a tomato to a tomato powder is enormous difference is there. Tomato may be 1 rupee a kilo, tomato powder will be 150 rupees a kilo. The value addition that we make it possible to the small farmer, then that disparity between revenue and expenses will get narrower and narrower, and the farmer will be more empowered and he will be more encouraged to contribute more to the food security basket. So these are the technologies. As food science and technology resource persons, we need to really take it to the small and marginal farmers so that they really adopt them and make a lot of additional revenue from value added products. This is a carrot powder, tomato, you name it, we can do anything like palak powder, dhania powder, anything is possible. Whatever can be dehydrated in a hot air dryer can be successfully dehydrated in a solar dryer. And the solar dryer luckily retains more nutrients than hot air drying because the blue filter that is fitted on the glass pan can filter off the ultraviolet rays and result in increase in retention of sensitive micronutrients like vitamin A, vitamin B1, B2 and all this stuff. So it is nutritionally superior, economically more feasible, and as a business you can really make higher revenue out of this. Like a combination of osmotic dehydration with solar drying process where the solar drying can facilitate a high value added fruit product. We have several examples like a screw extruder, small extruder combined with a expeller which will give high quality organic vegetable oil coupled with high quality protein rich meal with the least protein damage. The combination of these things which are not very expensive can be installed in a village as a model. This is what the agricultural extension officers in the village need to do for the farmers. When we say food security, right to food, right to food is not a charity in India. It is a constitutional obligation of the government to provide health and nutrition to every citizen. The Article 21 and 47 of our Constitution, Directive Principles, clearly stipulate that state is responsible for providing. I am sure the secretary is not here, otherwise he would have blamed me for showing this slide. This is an obligation for the government. Government means who? We are the government. We have an obligation to do this so that every citizen, every person living in this country gets his due share of food and adequate nutrition. So we all, together with the agricultural scientists and researchers, have a great responsibility as food scientists and technologists to work together, create an environment where every citizen of this country has a comfortable living with the right type of food and right type of nutrition that he deserves and desires, and make this country a strong, nutritionally sound, economically strong and vibrant economy. I think Dr. Naik Kurade was very fond of food security as a subject. I know in this 30 minutes time allocated to me, I could not do real justice. I skipped many slides. Yet, if I have been able to communicate something to this august audience, I feel very highly humbled. Thank you so much indeed. And I wish to thank Sagar Kurade, Dr. Prabodh Halde, and all Dr. Iram Rao, and all the members of the AFSTi and the sponsoring agencies for giving me this opportunity to speak in honor of a person who really mattered most to me in my life and who made me what I am today. Thank you so much indeed.
Kindly stay, sir. I'm inviting on stage none other than Mrs. Suman Anand Naik Kurade, wife of Dr. Anand G. Naik Kurade. Respectfully, ma'am, I request you to please join me on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together as we welcome this very, very beautiful lady right here to give the memento to none other than Dr. M. Krishna. Thank you so much. All of us feel really, really blessed to have you, our Mrs. Ma'am. Thank you so much for joining us this very lovely afternoon.
On behalf of the Delhi chapter, I am honored to have respected Madam Kurade and Dr. Murli Krishnan to deliver the memorial lecture, the fourth memorial lecture for Dr. Anand Kurade. Sir, your presentation and your thoughts sharing has had an immense influence on us. We all understand that India is having growing population, and with that we find that there is need to address food security issues, and there are natural resources which are dwindling, and we have to really collectively look into that. So all your strategies which you have proposed, also the remedies, we've learned them. The enormous amount of data which is shared, I'm sure all the audience sitting here would agree that it is alarming, if that's the least I can say. Thank you once again, sir. And now may I request both ma'am and sir to kindly release the newsletter of AFSTi Delhi chapter, and requesting Mr. Sagar Kurade, Dr. Pulkit Mathur, Dr. Anita Malhotra to kindly bring forward the newsletter, which is a compendium of the activities the AFSTi Delhi chapter holds, and this is a quarterly newsletter. Ma'am, may I request you and sir to kindly release our 5th series of the newsletter. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. We are now going to begin with our next session, that is the panel discussion. Over to Kainath. Thank you.
Now let us all proceed to the very first panel discussion on processed food industry ecosystem and opportunities ahead. I request all the panelists to join me over here on the stage. Very firstly, Mr. Siraj Azmat Chaudhary, Chairman, Cargill India Private Limited. Following him, Mr. Arun Mishra, Executive VP and Head Regulatory Affairs GSK. Mr. Uday Sawant, General Manager, Venky's India Limited. Mr. Saket Bhatia, Senior Vice President Marketing, Hindustan Tin Works. Dr. Teresa Beres Bentloch, Councillor Agriculture and Fisheries, Food and Environment, Embassy of Spain. A huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for all the panelists over here. Also, Mr. Akshay Bector, MD, Cremica Foods. And our last panelist, Mr. Girish Bajaj, Managing Director, Bajaj Process Pack Limited. Hereby, I invite all the panelists over this stage. And now to complete this set of people, let me call the moderator of this panel discussion, Mr. Sagar Kurade. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for these amazing, amazing talented personalities we have on stage.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. We have a very, very esteemed panel today to discuss on our subject pertaining to processed food industry ecosystem and the opportunities ahead. The reason of this subject and bringing a varied panel associated is also to the fact that food processing industry gets impacted by various issues from various sides. The food processing industry may be a single industry, but there are a lot of aspects associated with this. There are an entire ecosystem that operates within the food processing industry, whether it is the vendors, whether it is the machinery manufacturers, whether it's the ingredient suppliers, whether it's the front-end retailers, and so forth. So, having said that, I would like to welcome all the panelists. And before I start, just want to, considering the paucity of time, we will try to keep it as a half an hour panel discussion, if that's all right with everybody, and then open for a 5-minute question hour session. So to start, if I can just quickly request everybody to introduce themselves as well as their role within their company, and we will then quickly take that forward. Uday?
Yeah. Good afternoon. I'm Uday Samant, representing Venky's India Limited, the leaders in poultry industry. I'll just introduce 2 words over here, a few words. See, we are totally integrated what food industry needs. That is from the pure line breeding till egg processing and chicken processing, supported by poultry vaccines and feed. Basically, I'm involved in the meat processing part, the chicken processing part for last 20-25 years. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Teresa. I work in the Embassy of Spain, Counselor for Agriculture, Fisheries, Food Processing included.
Can I use this one? Good afternoon. My name is Arun Mishra. I work for GSK as Regulatory Affairs. I'm sure you are aware of GSK, but we manufacture popular products like Horlicks and Boost in this country for last 70, 80 years. And we have manufacturing sites. We can talk more about the company, but I'm conscious that we are sitting between you and lunch, so we'll try to wrap up quickly.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Siraj Chaudhary, and I lead Cargill, a global food and agriculture company in India. We are largely engaged in food processing with edible oils and flour manufacturing, as well as corn wet milling, and have varied businesses in animal nutrition and premixes, as well as an agriculture supply chain, sugar, and various trading businesses. I'm very happy to be here. Sagar is a good friend, and his request could not be turned down. And incidentally, also I've had some limited interactions with his father, Dr. Anand Kurade, and they were not about work. My limited interactions with him have been on football fields, and where he used to bring his granddaughter to play. And so it was indeed a pleasure to interact with him, and that's where I met Sagar, and we discovered that we had a common industry link.
Thank you. Thanks.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Myself, Girish Bajaj. I'm the Managing Director of Bajaj Process Pack Limited. We are an engineering company formed in 1988, and we work in the setting up of processing and packaging plant and machinery for fruits and vegetables and beverages. We've had the privilege of working with almost over 500 plus projects in the last 30 years across India, SAARC nations, and almost about 20 odd countries in Africa. I'm very thankful to AFSTi and Sagar for having me invited me here. Thank you.
First of all, thank you for having us here and organizing this lovely event. I'm Saket Bhatia. I'm representing a company called Hindustan Tin Works Limited. We are one of the leading producers of metal cans for food and non-food applications. So basically, my function in the company is to look after the sales and new business development and financial aspect of the company. And I'm looking forward to this interaction and would not take more time for the introduction, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. So the way we are going to take is feel free to share any thoughts from anybody on any questions. And we will try to limit it for half an hour. And considering our age-old tradition of Atiti Devo Bhava and ladies first, I'm going to ask Teresa my first question, if I can take that forward. So Teresa, you are here in India for quite some time, and you are seeing Indian, especially the agriculture and food processing sector, very up close. So any particular opportunities Spanish companies are looking for within India in terms of the specific aspect within food processing, or any relationship you are looking from Indian perspective into Spain? Any thoughts on that you would like to highlight, the role?
First of all, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here and exchange views. Perhaps the main element of the reason why this office has been opened is to identify the huge opportunities to complementary businesses for goods and services related to the food chain. I'm talking about the complementary fact, because it's not a question of competing. It's not a question of thinking of if rice yield in Spain is higher or lower than rice production or rice yield or fruits or perishable. The idea is that in terms of which amount of surface area is to optimize results and yields for every type when diversifying, perhaps the complementarity is the most key element, the most important key element to identify new opportunities, renewed opportunities, complementing, that is.
So the audience knows who to go to when it looks to Spanish opportunities and, look forward to it. Shiraj, from your point of view, the way I understand is you are the world's largest privately held company. Am I right? And from the little that I have read from your website, your company is looking to invest about $240 million in investment over the next 5 years. So can you just identify what are your priority areas over the next 5 years, which you are looking to explore within the food processing sector?
Cargill's been in India for the past 30 years, and we have been in the field of agriculture, managing agriculture supply chain as well as processing for producing edible oils and wheat flour. And now recently we got into corn wet milling to produce glucose, maltodextrin, and we have been in the production of animal feed and dairy and poultry feed premixes. So a very diversified business portfolio. India is a very attractive destination for Cargill, principally because Cargill's global goal or motto is nourishing the world in a safe and sustainable manner. And if that is your goal, then you cannot be away from 1.3 billion people that reside in India, and therefore it is a huge opportunity. But it comes with its challenges, and we feel that while India is going to be a great opportunity for us, it's going to take longer than it would in some other places, simply because, and that's the subject that we're discussing here today, that the ecosystem around food processing and more importantly, food distribution itself it will take longer to build. I mean, we are still coming alive as an economy with specific reference to food processing. The areas that we are going to be continuing to invest in are, again, we're looking at animal feed and poultry feed as one space. The other is cocoa and chocolate, continue to build our businesses in edible oil and flour, as well as corn milling. And at the same time, we've also built businesses, in the process of building businesses, which are around creating green fuels from agriculture or our processing waste. So from fatty acids or soap stocks and edible oil refining, we are producing transformer fuels, which are actually natural esters rather than, from fossil fuels. So it's a whole spectrum that we are engaged in.
So that's kind of interesting, because I think as far as the Indian consumers are concerned and the government initiative, and everybody is moving towards health, wellness, and green. I mean, that's the key area, that is the trend that we are seeing. In that case, Arun, my question would be to your perspective, considering the health and wellness sector, all right? How do you see your company's perception or perspective, from your perspective, things have changed over the last 5 years from a simply health and wellness perspective?
Thank you. I think it's an important question. I mean, if you look at the healthcare globally, it's moving at a very rapid pace, I would say. And the fundamental shift we see, and more so in India, is that people are becoming more aware of their health. Not only that, they are taking more and more control on their own health. So, for example, if you look at the digital boom that is happening in the country, is facilitating information. So today, many of us, if we have symptoms, first point of call perhaps is to search what it is all about. You reach out to Google perhaps and search that, okay, I'm having headache and I have fever, what does it mean? Or if you are taking a medicine, you reach out to again to seek information that what are the side effects and what are the doses, is it the right medicine or not. So consumerization of healthcare, because of digitization of the world, is fueling and empowering all of us to have more control on our health and healthcare. So the shift that we see is perhaps in many parts of the world and India also, is moving from doctor-centric healthcare to me-centric. In the past, perhaps I would have thought if I get ill, it's not my fault, and I need to get better, it's not my responsibility, it's doctor's responsibility. But the shift is happening that I need to take care of myself better, therefore I need to eat healthy, I need to exercise well, I need to drink enough water. And also, if I get ill, it's my responsibility as well to get back to normalcy of the health. So therefore, the integration, I would say the boundaries of food and the health is merging. And the technology is helping as well. And that's where I mean, being one of the leading healthcare company and having a separate vertical for consumer healthcare speaks a lot. And that's the trend we see, and that will continue. And we will see more and more functional foods as well, which will play important role in our lives, like probiotics and many other that sort. So I think that's a trend we see, and more so in India as well.
Well, Arun, that's very interesting. In fact, I would like to take that on a regulatory front and put it forth with Uday also. But before I do that, I would like to ask Girish and Saket the quick questions. So Girish, you are into supply and back-end associated with the industry, into plant machinery, manufacturing, fabrication. When you have a tremendous experience when it comes to putting line and machines in place, where do you think entrepreneur in general misses out when he or she is looking at putting a viable line or plant or project? What are the aspects they typically miss out on?
Now, Sagar, I'd like to just add here is that when the challenges that are faced in the industry, I would rather like to focus on the small to medium enterprises. Luckily for the large enterprises, the organized sector or the MNCs, these challenges are not there. So when I talk about these challenges, this is more to do with the small and medium sector enterprises, which of course also constitute a large section or a percentage of this industry. First and foremost, over the years, I have seen the problem, if I may call it as one, starts from the point of preparation of a DPR. Now, not too much of attention is given to the DPR in terms of the technology that the proposed venture is going to use. Not too much of a research has gone into there, and it's more focused on making it as a bankable DPR, just to get the loan and the subsidies which are available. Now, what happens is, the promoter or the entrepreneur does not concentrate on that aspect at that stage, but once that has been approved by the banks and also by the concerned ministry, then he's bound by it. And there have been in numerous cases where an entrepreneur comes to us at a stage of implementation and we ask, sir, who gave you these figures? He says, my CA gave me these figures. Now, at that time you're stuck. You've already committed to the bank that I am going to, let us say, invest 1 crore in this technology, whereas that technology itself would probably cost you 3 crores. And on the other hand, you've committed 2 crores for a technology which should not have been there in the first place. So we have seen these challenges come up again and again, which I feel need to be addressed by the entrepreneur when they've decided to go ahead. That's one challenge that I've seen. Second is the tight budgeting in terms of the expenditure, in terms of when they're setting up the project. Now, in this case, many of the entrepreneurs, while there are professionals at that also, but they tend to get overboard on the construction side. So suppose there is a budget allocation of, let's say, 5 crores or a 10 crore budget allocation, and they've said on the DPR, we'll spend 2 crores, and they end up spending 3.5. And they're quite happy, if I may say so, doing so. Arre, koi baat nahi. You know, it's a one-time thing. And it's by the time you turn to the machinery, you're short of your budgets. So I asked them, I said, is your plant and machinery going to give you the investment or the payback, or is your building going to pay you back? So that's the second very important aspect that the industry faces. Third, to sum it up, is the technology. Now, we are in the era of disruptive technologies. We have seen it across the board, across industries, whether it is IT, whether it is Ubers of the world, whether it is the, you name it. Everywhere there is disruptive technologies which are usurping the established players at their own games. Now, if a project is being set up in food processing today, I would strongly urge all the would-be entrepreneurs to look at what new technologies can be brought in which will give them the edge to, let us say, take on an established player who's already been around for the last 25 years. Now, for example, I'll share with you a very small example. 4 years back, there was a beverage company which wanted to set up. We said, sir, forget the old PET technology which has been around for 20 years. There are newer technologies, why don't you look at that? He says, how many of them have been set up in India? I said, only not even one. He says, no, we won't take that risk. Let other people come in and then we'll take that risk. Till that time, we'll go by the old technology. They've set up, and at the same time, there was another company called Raw Pressery that set up in India with a technology called high pressure pascalization, HPP. 4 years down the line, this unit unfortunately is struggling today, and HPP has just got their round B funding from venture capitalists. So this is where people, would-be entrepreneurs, should really concentrate. That is the technology up to date? Is the technology and also packaging? Now these are the two things that they really need to look at very strongly before they make that investment what they are.
Well, that's very interesting because both you and Arun brought out the issue of technology. And I like to have this is a general question to the entire panel, whoever wants to contribute their thoughts. But talking about disruptive technology, and we are in a digital world today, what are the opportunities as well as threats that are perceived in today's digital world when it comes to companies? When you are looking to probably push your product or you're looking to defend your product, in today's digital world, any issues pertaining to disruptive or pro-technologies usages that you can, anybody in the panel wants to?
On the digital side, first let me highlight that the impact of the food processing on economy, what we believe is that what IT in the digital space did for the urban India, food processing will do for the rural India.
Absolutely.
And that's the only way. Today, 70% of our population is dependent on agriculture. So the kind of jobs created, the kind of people involved, so it's 70%, which is huge. And Indian population 1.2 billion, world population is 7 billion, so we are pretty high in terms of that. Food requirement will go up, which was highlighted by our previous speaker as well, that the requirement of food and the consumption of food in India will go up. The demographics are that the middle class is rising, the spending power is going up, so it will push the food processing sector. Now, digitalization would be maybe one of the channels to maybe sell food or raise a demand through food delivery portals, for example. Having said that, the other issue is on the food processing side. The government is trying to do a lot to increase the food produce, which is by setting up mega food parks, incentivizing the food companies to set up more production units. But we still believe the loop is incomplete. Why is it incomplete? That without packaging, which is where I come from, you cannot sell food. I mean, you cannot produce food and not pack to sell it. So if government is incentivizing food processing, they should also incentivize the packaging for food.
Absolutely. And the machinery.
And the machinery for food. Then the loop is complete. So if you have a food park only for incentive for producing food and not to produce the packaging for food in the same park, the loop is not getting complete. So I feel if this kind of a situation can be highlighted, taken up, and really said by the industry, that this will further give a fillip to the food processing industry. Yeah.
And just to take that thought forward, what about disruptive, like in today's WhatsApp age, it's so easy to put up and share negative ads about other companies or sharing something related to plastics in food, which, some people kind of go overboard sometimes in terms of what is the reality and what is being perceived. How is that being dealt with different companies? Shiraj, if you can give a perspective.
Yeah, I think one of the advantages and challenges, of course, of spread of technology and consumer awareness is that there is greater need and demand by consumers for transparency. The consumer today wants to know where his food is coming from and what does it comprise. So I think this is good. It is good because it helps to build the market. It may be challenging to begin with, but it helps to build a future market for processed food, because historically we've been used to very short supply chains. I mean, everyone had his food or her food from their neighborhood. Now we are dealing with very long supply chains, and that for them to succeed, it is important that there is a high degree of trust in that supply chain, and therefore transparency of supply chains is going to be very critical for success of processed food as it tries to win consumers over the years to come. Technology, I think, is also helping in another respect, which what I like and what is encouraging about the food processing industry is that it is not something which always necessarily plays to economies of scale. Smaller units, smaller businesses, smaller entrepreneurs can, with technology, create products which they may not aspire to begin with to sell across the country or across the world, but even in their niche areas or to niche consumers, and can still build a business around that. So I think it's a great opportunity for entrepreneurs. Some challenges that exist are how to take these products to the market, because it's one thing to produce good products, to get technology and R&D to produce good products, but to carry them to the market and build consumer support and acceptance around them is a challenge. But there again, I think technology is helping, because with e-commerce as a platform to sell products, I think it is a great opportunity for niche products and specifically around health and wellness products, which some of the large companies will take a long time to sort of change to, because they require much larger effort to change. I think technology is providing great opportunity for startups, small entrepreneurs to create products and take them to the market with less investment.
That's true. So that's why we have a startup environment today. That's why the smaller companies are kind of, the pace of growth has been kind of very fast. Uday, from your perspective, if I can put through, you have had a close interaction from even regulatory aspects pertaining to meat, especially pertaining to meat. I know till about few years back, we had huge regulatory challenges, all right, which I'm so glad the new team of FSSAI has done a lot to kind of reduce that gap and take it forward. How do you see the changes per se, and where do you think, and this the second part would be for each company, where you see there are still challenges or there are still certain areas where regulatory point of view, things require to be addressed? If Uday, you can. And Arun,
See, it was a really a nightmare for us when we all of us were suffering, the food industry was suffering with FSSAI authorities, maybe 4 years back, 3-4 years back. But the situation has drastically changed in last few years. Now, see, the basic thing was what I felt when I was dealing with FSSAI authorities here in Delhi. Now, everything which was decentralized before in the industry was centralized in Delhi. And the most thing was the approach to the authorities. The understanding by the authorities was very, very poor in those days. But I'm very, very happy that these things have completely changed. That is one. The second thing is, as far as the regulations going up now, since they are referring most of the things as far as the food industry, and they are referring to codex, which is already established practices abroad. They are getting it into India, but a small addition to that is, which I already spoke with FSSI authorities, even though those systems are there, they are abroad. Do not copy everything 100%. Try to see that it also matches to the Indian products, Indian industry. Yeah. Now, further to that, one more interesting thing and appreciable thing from FSSI authorities is now the partnership between FSSI and the industry. They are inviting industries to give their views, their basic documents, which looks to be very, very encouraging.
There is a proactive approach.
That is a very, very proactive approach. Yeah, inclusive also. Yeah, and you go with any of your difficulties, they really do think over and get a solution on the present situation. What was the second one, sir? I missed it.
Any perceivable challenges that still are there?
Yes, challenges is always. It's not only FSSI. Let me broaden the angle a bit. It is for the food industry. Challenges not only with FSSI, but the recent challenges we may be with a welcome move was GST, but there are challenges with that. Or the environmental ministry, which has come specifically, I'm speaking with the state of Maharashtra. One fine day they came up, I feel it was 23rd of March. They came up, no plastic ban in the state of Maharashtra. And now, today we are on 13th of April, we do not know what to do. The manufactured plastic industry has gone into court. The hearing was there. Today, the results are going to be out from the court.
I can help you with that.
Yeah.
You can buy tin cans.
Yeah. But unfortunately, No, unfortunately, all my products are frozen products. So, yes, they are laminated packing material. So, we really do not know what is the way ahead, and we are completely stuck. That doesn't mean we have stopped our production. The production is on. We are just waiting for the court orders to come today. Let us, and specifically something with GST, I would like to be, even though there's not much from the poultry industry, but I would like to be very, very specific, because how sometimes, even though GST is very, very welcome move, how do they work? But sometimes it is anti-food processing. I would like to get into that perspective, even though we are speaking of food processing. Now, a small example. A chicken which is being sold as it is has got 0 GST.
Yes.
Same, on the other, we are saying that we should encourage food processing so that the shelf life of the product goes up, it reaches the masses, everything else.
That's true for wheat flour and
yeah. And suddenly, if I freeze the same chicken, it is going to be 5%. So one side, I am incurring cost on preserving the product. Again, I am paying 5% GST on that. So one side, if the food industry has to progress, the preservative methods, still the form has not changed. It is a raw chicken. It is nothing more than that. We are very happy even to pay 12% for a processed chicken, like chicken nuggets, chicken burger patties, keemas and other things. Yes, we are very open on that. But the same product, which is in a chilled form, is 0, frozen form 5%. So the total cost of my product goes up by 10%. So how is the industry going to go up? Yeah. So that is some of the challenges we are still facing, but we hope for the betterment.
Anand, from your point of view, any thoughts?
So, if I look at, the food regulation in the country is 10, 11 years, FSIs of existence. If I see that there have been, I would say, substantial development from food regulation point of view in last 10 years and more so in last 2-3 years. It's not easy. Being a regulatory person and having regulatory background, it's not easy when you really have to frame the regulation which can work for everyone, from society to industry to farmers is not easy. So there have been substantial progress, I would say, in many areas. I think there are areas that where we could do more. Would be, one is predictability. It's very important in any system to bring predictability. And therefore, I think we could do more. How do we make our regulatory framework more predictable? Point came before is using technology. We are using, how can we use it better? The other one is transparency. How do we make our regulatory framework more transparent? How do we be more participative, collaborative with all the stakeholders when we are developing the regulation, when we are framing the regulation? The third would be, how do we bring more quality in our regulatory framework, which means how do we infuse science? How do we ensure that our regulatory framework is up to date with the science, not nationally but internationally as well, but relevant to the country? The other is timeliness, which brings to predictability as well, so that all the stakeholders, including industry, understands and can predict that what is coming, when it is coming, when it is going to be implemented, not like Maharashtra plastic ban, which came out of the blue in 30 days, you have to comply. Some sort of collaboration and having a timeliness that would help. And the other one is innovation. Regulatory framework, if it doesn't have flexibility for innovation, it will not help industry to bring innovation and therefore the consumers and the society as well. More so in India, if I look at, and the other one before I forget is harmonization. I understand that international regulation or other countries' regulations are applicable to other countries, but however, in the globalized world, it is important that how do we not reinvent the wheel and how do we learn from each other and how do we bring the regulation in such a manner which is helping the companies to take their products globally. For example, India has been whiskey country. Now we are growing the taste of wine, and Spain is been wine country forever. Is there a possibility that we grow tastes of Indian wine in Spain? It can only be possible when regulations are harmonized. Same way olives, now we have growing taste of olives in the country, and therefore can we look at those regulations which can help each other to remove the bottleneck. The last one I think is quite important is state versus center. There are regulations built or framed at the center level, but implemented at the state level. Therefore, the implementation of the regulation and the interference within that doesn't really help when you have national companies doing business across the country, and when the same regulation is interpreted differently and implemented differently, it doesn't really help the businesses. So therefore, having some sort of alignment, state versus center, would help. And we have seen a lot of progress in last, I would say, in last 24 months or so. There's a lot more collaboration between state authority and the center authority.
All right. Shiraj, any thoughts, or Teresa, from your point of view?
I fully agree with all of you that were presented today, but perhaps there's a need to work together to have an optimization of the implementation and control of the compliance, because innovators and the best users of the best practices and technologies are competing with those that perhaps are not 100% in compliance. Yeah. So markets suffer when a part of the market is not 100% compliant. So trying to optimize this, everybody in 100% of good regulation is perfect.
Wonderful. Shiraj?
Continuing from what Teresa just said, I think one of the challenges or the challenge with regulation is that at the end of the day, there's 10% of the food processing industry which actually gets covered in that. And exactly what you said, that till we get a larger part of the industry in it, then the whole cost and the relative competitiveness gets affected. But you cannot stop that process, you cannot doubt that process, it will take time. but that's the way forward, and we will have to bear the pain of a larger percentage of industry coming under that regulation, which for the size and the spread of the industry, it's probably not easy. So every regulation that comes in, ultimately it's the large companies or the few big companies that bear the brunt of that change, and not that change is bad, it's just that there's a lot happening. So there is certainly, it's great to see FSSAI as it is today. One, they are trying to make life easy, but at the same time, they're not losing sight of what is good for the consumer. And so a lot of initiatives that they're taking. As an operator, as a company, I think where we have it, what it does is that it keeps us on our toes, and sometimes that much love and affection from them can actually be a little overwhelming, but you cannot doubt the intent, and therefore one has to support it, because in the long run, that's great for the country. The challenge I see is alignment between different arms of the government into what the food processing industry brings to the table. So the good news is that in the last few years, we've seen a lot of emphasis on support for the food processing industry, whether it's from the government at the agriculture side or the Ministry for Food Processing Industry has been very forthcoming in supporting the industry. And then there have been the improvement in the whole operations of the FSSAI, which has become a lot more facilitative and supportive of the industry. But on the other hand, we have elements of what I would call the so these are all coming from a perspective, the first half is coming from a perspective that food processing industry is essential for the farmer in this country to get a higher remuneration for the effort that he's making. There is another side, which is where you get into your GST and your health sector or health regulations, which sees food processing or processed food as not good for health, and a food for and a consumption of the rich, which then is leading to a lot more regulations on and permissions and lack of permissions or banning of reduction in consumption of processed food and higher taxation. So we need to find this balance where if we want food processing industry to flourish, because that helps the farmer to convert his produce into food, we need to understand that where is the processed food consumption affecting us and how it should be priced for more people to consume it. I think in our effort to be upfront on the health side, we have obviously tried to copy a lot of the Western standards for health, not giving credence to what an Indian consumer's diet is and how much of these things are affecting him. My concern is that if we go overboard with these regulations, we are somewhere converting our concern for food into food scare, and that may not necessarily be very good for the population.
And just to take that thought forward, these days I'm hearing the terminology of clean label. Clean label implies naturally extracted preservatives or naturally extracted ingredients going into different ingredient products. Taking that point further, I wanted to ask Saket, you as well as Girish, you can follow. What GST bracket do you fall in, and what were the implications with that?
Well, on the GST side, I think we received it very, very well, and so did the industry, the food processing industry from our perspective, because before GST, we were in any case under excise, so we were a convertible unit. And when we were selling cans to the food processing industry, we were charging 12.5% excise plus 2% CST, which is, say, about 15%, which was a cost to the industry. After GST, I put 18% GST, which is not a cost to the industry, so they get a credit. So without doing much, my can is cheaper by 15% for the industry. So for me, it's a welcome move, and I believe it's definitely helping the other thing which we saw, that a lot of unorganized segment, because now there is no tax to be saved in the chain. So the people who were really using or buying cans or selling processed food, filled products, really without declaring them to the government, now for them there's nothing to really save by saving on tax. So that segment is also coming to the organized side. So end of the day, the scale would be the name of the game now. I mean, it's not the smaller scale unit with the excise exemption can compete with you. It's a level playing field. So I think we are very happy with the GST.
Girish, quick thoughts?
Sagar, in case of plant and machinery for food processing, it's a negative impact. Unfortunately, I would have to say this. Reason being one, there has been a discrepancy when the different machineries have been taxed in different tax brackets. My company makes machinery for dairy and food. Now, considering I'm supplying the same set of machinery to dairy, I charge them at 12%. But if the same plant, exactly the same, I say it is for juice, I have to charge them 18%. So why this change? Is fruit processing not as important as dairy processing? That's one question. Second most important is that we are talking about these subsidies for new processing industries, which under the Kisan Sampada, on a 15 crore investment, there is a 35 or 50% subsidy. But there is an underlined statement saying the subsidy is not on the tax, which is quite obvious. But if I take you through the figures, suppose the entrepreneur A is setting up an industry for 15 crores, out of which he spent 10 crores on plant machinery, on which he pays 18%. That means he's paid almost about 2 crores, 3.6 crores on 1.8 crores just for the tax component, which A, he does not get subsidized, the bank does not give him this money. B, if we go by the GST claim back, he has to make turnover of 20 crores before he can actually eventually take it back. Now, if you compare this to a SME, a new entrepreneur who's just set up a unit, who doesn't have a brand, he's struggling, that's a lot of money that is going out of his pocket, which neither the bank compensates. The bank says, we give you only the basic amount funding. Tax is yours. So that means if I have to, as an entrepreneur, invest 25%, that is 25 plus 1.8 crores. So that means my investment is 3.5. I mean,
Size was always there.
no, but not in.
You also. This is my last question because we have a paucity of time and then we will open for a quick audience question. See, in food processing, we keep on seeing that the regulations are primarily on the industry side, all right? But when it comes to farmer, all right, there are absolutely no regulations. So industry has to deal with a situation where they have to produce a quality produce, and the kind of sometimes the adulteration or kind of the mixing that or kind of issues that happen on the quality of produce at farm level becomes a serious concern, right? So this is a quick question for the entire panel, starting with Teresa. Teresa, in Spain, are farmers taxed is one, and secondly, are regulations applicable on them for any issues? And then let's start with that thought.
Yeah, indeed. Indirect taxation covers from farm to fork.
Okay.
That is, the indirect taxation goes
All
to
across,
the
all
end
across
consumer,
sector, all across.
starting
And-
at the first.
And are the regulations of the country applicable on farmers also? For example, if I do an adulteration of a commodity and it comes into are there implications on farm level?
Absolutely.
Or-
Direct taxation also applies for
Any
farmers.
thoughts from this entire panel on this?
So I just wanted to add, I think on the first one, of course, European legislation enforced in all member states, and therefore is quite strict when it comes to even farmers for milk production or any meat production or any other farming sector. In India, we support more than 100,000 farmers. We source milk. For example, 80% our spend goes in agriculture raw material. So therefore, the scale that we deal with the farmers, whether for milk or grains or for anything, is quite huge. As you rightly said, one of the challenge is to ensure quality of the raw material that we get, whether it's a milk or grains or sugar or anything that we get. It's a challenge. And therefore, of course, through number of years, we have built the ecosystem and we have built a framework under which we operate and we ensure quality of the incoming raw material. But of course, it will help if there is certain framework from farm produce point of view that will help the industry to ensure the quality and consistency as well. Agree. Agree. Exactly. Agree. Rightly said, sir. It's just the compliance.
But I want to complete on the panel discussion side. Any other thoughts on the farm level? Well, gentlemen, I have a lot more questions to ask, but I think we'll have to take that offline. And I would love to have a detailed discussion individually with each of you and get your knowledgeable thoughts on the sector. Considering the paucity of time, I'm going to close this panel discussion at this stage. Sincerely thank you for everybody sharing their extremely valuable thoughts. I will have to close the panel discussion here. And gentlemen, thank you so much for everybody, and thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. And lady, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.